Hi everyone. So I after last week I just really thought it was important for me to actually just go on here and address a really important issue. So I'm doing a very raw video. No makeup. I have well thought this out, but it's just gonna be a very raw video. And it's going to be kind of somber. So the topic that I'm addressing today is suicide, actually. Last week in the media there was two celebrities who had completed suicide, and there was a lot of posts, and I'm really glad that when something like that happens, that it does bring attention to this really serious issue. However, with that, it's important to realize that suicide is an issue that should only be addressed when it's a celebrity or when somebody famous. It should be something that we address on a regular basis because it is an issue that is going on in our nation, in our world, constantly, and needs some serious addressing. Currently, there is, in the United States, roughly 40,000 people commit suicide a year. It's actually a little over 40,000. So that averages out to roughly, 117 suicides a day. So that's quite a bit. And so that just, to me, kind of makes me wonder, and makes me think about, what can we do as a society to address this issue? And I really think society, we need to address, what are we doing as a society that is making people feel as though that is the only option? So with all that kind of said, so that's the issue I'm addressing today. So I'm going to start with, some of the other stats on it. One of the most common stats that a lot of people know is that it is oftentimes males who are completing suicide more than females. So guys, hey, it doesn't make you any less tough to go to therapy. It doesn't mean you're more macho if you hold it in and try to battle it on yourself, by yourself. So go in, get that therapy, break that stigma. It takes a lot more strength to be able to be vulnerable and to open up and to go and get that therapy than it does to actually stay quiet and to get the help. So guys, just go get the therapy, So that is one of them. The most common professions are actually farmers, fishers, and foresters. So keep that in mind. That does not mean that those populations are the only ones dealing with suicidal ideation or completing suicide. Oh, and then another one is 40% of individuals with alcohol dependency have attempted suicide. So, that is one thing that could be looked into too, or, possibly something to consider if you are wondering if somebody has suicidal ideation. So, alright, so that is some of the statistics. And then, I just kind of wanted to address some of the things. So a lot of people, some of the common misperceptions is that, like I said, people who attempt suicide, have suicidal ideation, or even complete suicide are weak, they're selfish, they're not going to actually complete it. Oh, don't talk about suicide because then it's going to bring the idea to them. I'm trying to think of a lot of the other ones. Oh, if you seek help, then then you're going to be thought as crazy, and you're going to have to deal with all that stigma, and none of those are true. None of them are true. First off, I can say from first-hand experience getting mental health services that yes, there is still some stigma, don't get me wrong, but a lot of times people are actually more receptive and understanding and caring than they are judgmental and stigmatizing. So, don't let that be a reason to ever stop you from going and getting help or, helping others. So, alright, so that's just one of the things I wanted to say. And then another thing, like another way to explain it is, so people who have suicidal ideation or attempt suicide, it's so you can kind of have an understanding of where they're at. Now I'm making very generalized statements, so just keep that in mind. But it kind of, they're kind of in a tunnel vision, like they're just not seeing the way out of their situation. They're not seeing the positives. It's like a tunnel vision. It's just narrows and narrows and narrows. So there's that. And then another thing to think about too is that I've been told, and I kind of agree with this, it's not so much they want to die per se. It's more that they just don't want to have to deal with the pain anymore or suffering anymore. And then along with that, it kind of boils down to when their pain, hopelessness, helplessness exceeds the resources that they have available. And, that's really going to get into a step later that I talk about. But, so then let's go to, what do we do when we think somebody might be contemplating suicide, might be having suicidal ideation? What do we do when somebody has attempted suicide? Those kind of things. So, first, the first thing to do, I think, when we think that somebody might be suicidal or be suffering in that way is simply kind of consider, what are some of the signs? Are we seeing these signs? So some of the signs are loss of interest or pleasure in things that they normally would enjoy, saying goodbye to people or getting rid of possessions, giving their possessions to others, decreased social contact, talking about death or dying, and then last, mood swings. So those are just some of the possible signs and symptoms. And then, so from there, we think, okay, yeah, definitely, and they don't even have to necessarily meet all those criteria. If you think, if you have any inkling that somebody might be contemplating suicide or, really might need some help, so then the next steps is just to be direct. Pick a time and a place where you have time to address the issue. Make sure that you're kind of addressing it in a, at least a semi-private way, and then so that they feel open and are comfortable giving you the truth, the honest answer. And then when you ask, don't ask oh, you're not suicidal, are you? Because then they're not going to give you, they're going to be like, oh, well, they're hoping for me to say, no, I'm not, no, So there is that. So just, kind of just a very general, I've been noticing, this, and this. I just want to make sure, are you having suicidal ideation? Is that something that we need to address? or I've heard X and Y and Z statement. Like, is this something that, you know, you're considering? Is this something that you're actually thinking of? And, you know, is it an issue that needs to be addressed? And then from there, you're gonna wanna go into the persuading steps. You're gonna wanna kind of do some motivational type stuff to kind of, you know, tell them, you know, things do get better, and then, you know, just kind of, and then persuade them to go and get the resources. And then with that, before any of this even happens, you should know the resources. Take the time now. If you're watching this video, when you're done, take 5-10 minutes and look up the resources in your area. Know what resources are available. Don't just wait till that moment. Don't not know what to do when it comes to that. Know the resources. There are resources out there, and you know, so alright. So with that, I'm gonna give you one resource. It's a very obvious, common resource. So, but it's just the National Suicide Hotline. So, the number is 1-800-273-8255. So, you know, if it is an issue that you yourself are struggling with right now too, just use the number, call the number. So, alright, so there is that. So yeah, so then, okay, so now you've convinced them, let's say you convinced them to go and get help. So what do you do from there? So once they've agreed to getting help, you know, offer to go along with them to get the help. If it's, you know, if it's a first appointment, if it's whether somebody's coming there to talk to them, or whatever the case may be, just offer to go with them and be there. If they're in the hospital, go visit. Go visit. A little awkwardness, a little bit of uncomfortableness, whatever the case may be, is not going to hurt you. So, don't be afraid of having the awkward conversations. Don't be afraid of things being a little awkward. It's fine. And, you know, if you're afraid that, you know, having these kind of conversations with people is, you know, just going to make them mad at you or whatever, it is better to have the friend than it is to have the friendship. So, it's better to have them alive than the opposite. So, don't be afraid to ask tough questions. And so, yeah, and then just from there, you know, just after all that has happened, there's going to be a lot of, you know, they're going to have a lot to deal with. Whether it's the first time this has ever happened and they're going to have to deal with all that, like, information coming at them, it's going to be a lot. And, or even if it's somebody who's done it before, or had suicidal ideation before, or has attempted before, you know, they're just really going to need your support. So try not to treat them any differently. Just be there. I mean, really, that's all they want. Just show them that, you know, you're not going to judge them because of it, and that you're just really there to support them. That's all they really want. I mean, you don't have to be perfect in any of it. Nobody's asking that. Just give it your best effort. So yeah, I mean, I think that kind of covers so much of it. I think that's the majority of what I want to talk to you about on that piece. And they're going to have a lot to deal with. You know, there might be guilt, there might be shame, they're not going to know, like, how to handle stigma, and, you know, what stigma might happen, and they might, I mean, there's so much emotion that they're going to be dealing with, and they're going to need people there for support and to help process that information. One thing, too, is, you know, when they've got that diagnosis and when they've gone through that, you know, it can be really beneficial for them to look into support groups in the area. You know, there's support groups geared towards different types of illnesses. There's all sorts of things like that. So that might be a suggestion for them. You know, if they're looking for extramural support, NAMI, National Alliance for Mental Illness is, or on mental illness, for mental illness, I can never remember which one, is a really, really good resource, and they have a lot of really, really good support groups for people. So, so there is that. So yeah, okay, so that's kind of the main part I wanted to talk about. And then, because I am very much involved in the OCD community, and really, OCD is an issue that is really important to me. If you've ever seen any of my other videos, you may have heard my story. There is a lot more to that story that hasn't been out there yet, because a lot has happened since the last time I posted. But so what I was gonna say was, because of like me being involved in the OCD community, and it's really a topic that matters to me, I just want to say, like, for professionals, for even the general public, when suicide becomes a major issue in the media, it can be very common for individuals with OCD to start having harm OCD, where they're afraid that they're going to harm themselves, and so it's just something to be aware of, and realize that some of those posts could be very triggering for them, and it could be an issue they're going to have to deal with, and might need help for. So it's just something to think about. And yeah, I guess that's just something I really wanted to talk about. And for those of you who that is an issue, hey, keep going. I know it gets better. I hope that if that's you, that you have somebody trained in exposure response prevention who can help you in your recovery. And if you don't, please seek out those resources, because they're very, very valuable. And I do know that it gets better. And I do know, as somebody with OCD, like, there can be times where things are super, super triggering. And there's days that suck. I mean, there really are days with OCD that just are horrible. And yeah, even if you have had, treatment, and, are still doing exposures and all the like, I mean, there can still be days. So, but just do your best. It gets better. And, if it is being triggered by something in the media, just, try to focus on the fact that, when it is in the media, it means that we're breaking that stigma, that people are getting help, and that there's hope for change in those directions, and look at the positives of it, I guess. And, I just want to say, sucks having OCD, so, I hear you, and I feel for you, but kick butt. Don't let OCD control you. Control OCD. You got it. So I think that's kind of all I really want to say about that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I really, really wanted to say on this topic. Oh, actually, there is something I did want to say. So as long as we're on the topic of OCD, or not OCD, actually, well, we were on that topic, but as long as, like, the whole video is addressing suicide, there's one thing that I did want to talk about. There was somebody who did research on individuals who I believe had jumped off of the Golden Gate Bridge in an attempt to commit suicide. And, it was really interesting. And what they found was, out of interviewing all these people who were not successful, every single one of them, at one point or another, realized after they had already jumped that they didn't want to go through with it. So get the help before it's too late. I guess that's really kind of the point of that. So things can change so fast. So yeah, I guess I just want to say that to you. I think that really covers it. And yeah, on top of the 2 celebrity suicides that happened last week, it was kind of ironic. It was one of only a few times in my life where I have I also had suicide, me an issue with, me an issue kind of, I don't want to say in my own personal life, but like somebody okay, so it was also an issue that kind of what came up in my general life too, was one of my friends had a friend, and I had never met this person, but I had talked to her once on the phone before, or via text, I can't remember. And yeah, last week she actually completed suicide. Potentially, I guess the autopsy results are still coming in, so it was even more on my mind this last week than probably for some other people too. But yeah, and I do want to say, like, when somebody does complete suicide, there's no blame. There's no blame on anybody. There's no blame. So yeah. And I know that's easier said than to actually, like, to think or to, you know, have to deal with this person. But yeah. So yeah, I guess I think that covers it all. I hope you guys have a really great weekend and week, and yeah, keep advocating for mental health. Bye.